The darkness of night had descended upon the palace. From the outside, the building looked like a dream. High walls, large doors, sparkling chandeliers. But behind those walls lay a secret that no one could have guessed. Inside the palace, a 10-year-old girl, Hannah, sat quietly in her room. Fear was clearly visible in her eyes. In her hand was an old toy doll, which she held as a reminder of her mother. Hannah's mother had passed away in an accident many years ago. After that, a storm came into her life. Her father was a successful businessman, but he was often out of town. He had remarried, and Hannah's new stepmother on the surface seemed very kind. In front of everyone, she would hug Hannah, take pictures with her, and pretend to be in love. But as soon as the doors closed, her true face would be revealed. That night too it was the same. Her stepmother entered Hannah's room. She had a tray with food on it. But the dishes were empty. Seeing Hannah, she laughed sarcastically. "Are you still awake? There was food for you. But maybe it's better for you to stay hungry." Hannah said hesitantly. "I did all the work today. Please give me food." A cold tone appeared in the stepmother's eyes. She stepped forward and snatched the doll from Hannah's hand and slammed it hard on the floor. The doll's head broke off. "You won't get anything from these old things. Remember, you are only here to work. I can say whatever I want in front of your father, and he will never listen to you." Tears started flowing from Hannah's eyes. She started to pick up the broken doll on the floor. There was only one question in her heart. Will her father ever see the truth? Suddenly, footsteps were heard outside the room. Someone was walking quickly. The stepmother was startled. She quickly hid the doll pieces and looked at the door. The door opened and someone was standing there. But who was it? Was it her father? Or someone who was going to change everything? The door slowly opened. The person who entered was not Hina's father. Rather, it was the old servant Akram, who had been living with the family for many years. Akram stepped inside and stopped when he saw Hina's tears. "Bibi, what is all this?" he asked slowly. The stepmother immediately replied angrily. "This girl always plays tricks." She started crying over the slightest thing. "You should mind your own business, Akram." Akram fell silent, but his eyes said it all. He saw Hina, who was stealing the pieces of her broken doll. Deep down, Akram decided that he would not tolerate this any longer. At night, when everyone was asleep, Akram gently knocked on the door of Hina's room. "BBG, I know your mother loved you very much. I promised her that I would protect you as long as I breathed. Now it's time to tell your father the truth." Hina said in a frightened voice. "No, Baba will never listen to me. He only listens to this woman." Akram placed his hand on Hina's head. "Daughter, the truth cannot be hidden. When your father returns tomorrow, I will tell him everything myself." But Akram had no idea that someone outside the room was listening. It was none other than his stepmother. A sinister smile appeared on his face. He said to himself, "Tomorrow morning I will not let Akram stay in this house. And this girl will be silent forever." The silence in the room was the prelude to a new storm. No one knew what truth the next day's sun would reveal. Fire now, the story is getting more thrilling. Shall I also make episode 3 for you in the same flow so that the whole chain is complete? Great thumbs up sparkles. Now I am writing episode 3 of the story for you. This part will be more climax and suspenseful so that the listener will say to himself, when will the next part come? Open book episode 3. The next morning, there was silence in the mansion. Breakfast was being prepared on the dining table in the big hall. Hina was sitting in her room, looking sullen, while her stepmother had an unusual satisfaction on her face. When Akram came to the kitchen, suddenly 2 strangers were standing there. They were dressed in black, with stern eyes and bags in their hands. Akram asked in surprise, "Who are they? And what are they doing inside the house?" The stepmother replied slowly, "These are new employees, now you should rest. You are not needed after today." Akram was shocked. He immediately understood that this was a game. He was about to run towards Hina's room when the two strangers blocked his path. There was anger in Akram's eyes, but there was no fear in his heart, only concern that Hina would not be left alone. He shouted, "Daughter, don't be afraid. I am always with you." Hina heard this voice from the door of the room, but did not dare to go out. Her small hands were trembling. At that moment, a car horn honked at the big door. Everyone in the mansion looked shocked. Hina's heart started beating fast. She knew that this voice was not from anyone else, but from her father's car. The stepmother's face turned pale in an instant. She quickly moved forward and put on a fake smile on her face. "Now the game has to change," she muttered. The door opened, and Hina's father entered. But this time there was a strange hardness on his face, as if he already knew something. Footsteps echoed at the door. The large door of the mansion opened and Hina's father entered. He had a briefcase in his hand, but his face did not have the usual calm. There was hardness in his eyes and wrinkles on his forehead. The stepmother immediately stepped forward and said without stopping, "You have come. Look, this Akram has completely gone mad. He is not ready to follow the rules of the house, and instead blames me." Akram was about to say something when Hina's heart beat faster. She slowly opened the door and peeked out. She was scared, but this time a new courage woke up inside her. "Father!" Her broken voice echoed in the room. Her father looked in shock. Hina's small face was wet with tears and her hand was bandaged. There was silence for a moment. Akram immediately said, "Sir, the real story is not what you are hearing. The real story is your daughter's tears." The father's gaze suddenly changed. He slowly moved towards Hina. He held her hand, looked at the bandage and took a deep breath. "This wound, who gave it?" There was a hardness in his voice. The stepmother's face turned pale. She hesitated for a moment, then lied and said, "It fell off by itself. Children often get injured while playing." But Hina's trembling voice revealed the lie. "No, father. It wasn't a game. It was a punishment." The whole room fell silent upon hearing these words. The father's steps staggered. The briefcase fell to the ground. Sorrow, anger, and regret all flashed in his eyes. He seemed ready to pay the price for years of silence. The atmosphere in the room was so heavy that it was difficult to breathe. Hina's words, "This was punishment," echoed off every wall. Akram held back his tears and said, "Sir, I have seen all this for a long time, but I could not say anything out of fear. Today the truth has come out." The father's eyes filled with blood. He looked at his wife, and for the first time there was no love or trust in his eyes, only doubt and anger. "Is this all true? You did this to my daughter?" His voice echoed in the room like thunder. The stepmother said tremblingly, "It is all a lie. These people want to defame me." But at that moment Hina extended her other hand, with old scars on it. She spoke softly. "This was all a game too." The father's steps staggered. Tears welled up in his eyes. He bends down and hugs his daughter, as if years of distance have vanished in an instant. "I left you alone, forgive me, daughter. I won't allow any more tears." The stepmother's face turns pale. She tries to speak, but the words get stuck in her throat. Akram stands near Hina, looking at her with eyes filled with peace. And at that very moment there's a knock on the door outside. That knock was as if a new secret, a new storm was about to break in. The knocking on the door became even louder. The father signaled to Akram, "Go see who has come." Akram opened the door and a person entered. She was a middle-aged woman in simple clothes, but there was a strange light in her eyes. As soon as Hina saw her, her breath caught. "Mom!" A broken word came out of Hina's mouth. The woman stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, daughter, it's me. For years everyone said I was dead, but I was alive. I had lost consciousness after an accident. And when I came to, everything had changed. The room fell silent. Father's footsteps sank into the ground. How is this possible? I had shed tears on your grave. The woman said in a choked voice. You were deceived. No one forced me to die. But it was all a game. And in this game, the woman you made a part of your life was also involved. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the stepmother. Her face started to flush. It's a lie. It's all a drama, she shouted. But the woman took out an old piece of paper from her pocket. This is my medical record from the hospital, from the day I was brought in unconscious. The father grabbed the paper and his being shook. The truth was now crystal clear. He said in a trembling voice, You wronged my daughter and proved my real wife dead, so that this palace could be yours. The stepmother was no longer able to speak. Akram stepped forward and said, Sir, now the decision is in your hands. The father picked up his daughter, looked her in the eyes and said, From today on this house will not live without you. The injustice that was done will be accounted for. The stepmother was thrown out of the house by the servants. Hina sat on her mother's lap. After years she found the peace she had been crying for every night. Tears flowed from the father's eyes, but there was a peace on his face. I have everything today. Wealth, fame. But everything was useless if it weren't for you. Now you are all I have, daughter. And so the house, which was once filled with tears, echoed with the sounds of laughter for the first time. The story ended, but a lesson was left. Love and truth are the greatest wealth.